This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. I don't have to tell you, there's a lot going on in our world, a lot of things that have challenged us emotionally and also in many different ways. How do we navigate through that uncertainty? We're going to pick up our conversation with her last time, and invariably the uncertainty that we deal with and that stress leads to other challenges in our lives. She's a licensed professional counselor at Inner Transformation Counseling, and she's back with us. Shari Edgell is back on the program. How you doing today?
I'm good.
So, can we do a recap where we left off as we pilot forward?
Yeah, because that was kind of a rapid thing that we did. So we were talking about the role that stress has in our lives, whether that's minor or major, whether that's direct. You were talking about indirect things, I think, with the craziness of stuff going on.
Sure.
And it's easy for us to be able to see that the thought process that would go along with stress would be worry, which is
Mm.
this sort of anticipation that something difficult or painful is going to be happening. And that has the emotional reaction or output of anxiety. And so when I did this research back in 2016, I found that this other concept, the intolerance of uncertainty, has an incredibly strong underpinning in that system. And one of the things you and I talked about last time is that the reason that worry doesn't work is that most of the things that you and I or anybody worry about never come to fruition.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those words, intolerance of uncertainty. I'm going to look at those for a moment. So, means we're not tolerating the uncertainty.
Hmm.
Meaning, I guess if we go a layer deeper, is we're uncomfortable with it. We don't want to embrace it, but we really need to. And for many different reasons, minimizing stress, anxiety, but it's exactly what you said. Most of the stuff we worry about, and they always do studies, polls on this. It's like 90 something percent, low 90s. It always kind of floats there every few years that stuff never transpires, never even happens. The stuff we're worrying about, we're literally wasting time, wasting energy on it. How do we get to that point where we tolerate uncertainty?
Well, that's something we're going to lead into. I want to do a little bit with kind of showing you how this might work in someone's life, because it's one thing to see a concept, it's another to realize how it plays out.
Sure.
So we're looking at worry as a mechanism to try and gain control, which is I want to make the uncertain certain. That's our goal.
Mm.
And so when you look at control, that's its whole other beast, right? And one of the things I have my clients do when we're talking about control, because we need to have a certain amount of control, but we're going to cause ourselves a lot of angst if we're meddling in things that are outside of our control. So I have my clients, you can do this on a piece of paper. You make three columns, and in the middle, you write down, what do I wish I could control? And that list can be very long.
Mhm.
And then you separate that out into what about that wish can I not control? And what about that can I control? And teaching yourself how to stay in your lane, right?
Mm.
And let go of those things. And it's actually, you're not even letting go. It's not like I'm letting go of control. It's I'm acknowledging I never had it. And yet I'm worrying about how to control something I can't.
Very easy to say, and I believe it's the truth. It's easy to say, but harder to practice it. Not worry about the things you can't control. People.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can get frustrating. Like, yeah, you believe what they did. Can't control it. What am I going to do about it? I can't do
Right.
anything about it. Again, can get frustrating and then some. But
Yeah.
that's the reality.
And one of the other things we talked about was the role of this shame-based identity. I don't believe in my ability to cope. So let's talk about what that could look like in terms of a client coming into my office. So
Sure.
I'm going to introduce what I would consider to be the most consistent addiction that comes in my office, which is approval seeking and avoiding disapproval. And so there's two sides of the same coin. Some people really need praise. They are not okay till someone says they've done it well. Other people are not okay with criticism. And so that ties in with that. I don't believe in my ability to cope because now I've gone to this external source. I'm looking for validation. I'm looking for doing it just right. So there are two different reactions you can have from this intolerance of uncertainty that goes up to worry to try to gain control and then is anxious. And in approval seeking and avoiding disapproval, one of the swings you can have is you believe you can get control. So you're doing things like obsessing about what other people are thinking of you, imagining whether they think you're great or whether they're, scowling at something you've just done. Perfectionism, which if I can be perfect, then you cannot criticize me. I might overplan. I might be really busy about trying to get something done. One of the secondary emotional reactions is anger because anger comes up when someone blocks you getting control or what you think is control.
Hmm. These aren't easy. I was just going to say,
Oh,
especially, oh, when you add the anger thing in, somebody important in your life has done something. Can't believe they did that. I didn't even think they had it in them. You're angry. Doesn't change anything, does it?
mm-mm. No. Well, it's that misconstrued perception that I have control,
Right.
and
Yep.
oftentimes you really don't. Yeah.
Most times you don't, I believe.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
so how do we get closer to, and I'm going to say this in a way has supported me. Three words. I don't care.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there. Doesn't mean I'm irresponsible. Doesn't mean it's off my radar. I just say I don't care. I don't care anymore. I can't do anything about it. Why am I going to put the energy into that? But I get it. It's not easy, especially when somebody's made you angry or did you wrong. That's all
Hmm.
normal. Like you're hurt. And what is anger? Typically, it's something else, another emotion presenting as anger, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it's interesting because approval seeking and avoiding disapproval really shows sort of an emptiness of spirit within that person where they have not come up with their own strong opinions or values, or maybe they do, but they think if they differ from someone else that can't be. So a lot of that work has to be done in developing to be able to say, I don't care. There has to be that work internally where you've filled your soul with your own opinions and values and being okay with differences, and not seeing that as a threatening thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The approval seeking thing, doesn't that pretty much go back to childhood too?
Yeah, as kids, we needed approval, right? We're so dependent on what our environment is mirroring back to us. And
Right.
so we need to learn, we need to be guided. If we're going around slapping our little 2-year-old friends, we need to be taught that things like that aren't right, or we're not going to have very successful relationships. So as a child, yes, but when we're carrying those same beliefs, values, or externally driven confirmations or lack of criticism, then we're not, in a way, we haven't brought ourselves up to being that adult within. And that's what we're looking for.
Does it does it go back to childhood in this way that we're kids? We don't know. We don't know what's right. We don't know what's wrong. We don't know what's good,
Mhm.
what's bad. We're looking for outside confirmation to to kind of drive us, even as, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old,
Yeah.
we even younger, who knows? So you're waiting for that, but if you don't get it, does it also potentially mean later in life you're looking for it then, just like you did when you were 5?
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast that Gabor Mate, he's a very famous Canadian doctor who does work on childhood trauma.
Mm,
And he was talking about, as kids, we are just so dependent on the environment that when things that seem innocuous, like someone's not paying attention to me, we will do what it takes then as an adult to get someone to pay attention to us, whether that's in how we look or how we
mm.
talk or whether we have the best and the greatest of whatever material kind of thing.
I never thought of it that way, where we might go overboard, maybe in the way we act, the way we dress, just because we know that that's going to get some kind of attention, good or bad. At least we're getting something because our quote unquote needs for that weren't met when we were kids. And that could also mean picking people for relationships in your life that don't really support you, but gave me attention. So you don't even know you're doing it, but you're in your mind's like, yeah, I'm going with that. I'm going with that. I got attention,
Mhm.
but it could be very unhealthy for you, but you're still trying to find that. Um, but that's something you feel you're controlling, isn't it?
Yeah, you think you have control over that, but how I kind of word it is the healing process comes when you are already, in a sense, full internally of knowing your value and worth. So, one of the examples I give is that, let's say I just had Thanksgiving dinner, and then a friend says to me, "Hey, let's go to the buffet." I have just eaten. I am full. Nothing in me wants to go to a buffet. I don't need the buffet. And so it's the same way when we heal that inside, those wounds that say we aren't enough, that we never do enough, we're not good enough, we don't measure up. When that's still on the
Mm.
inside, in a lot of ways, we're very empty. And we need someone to come in and fill that.
So what I think I'm getting from you is that we need to get to the point where we fill it. We fill our own cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we will actually do relationship better. A lot of people, if especially in a codependent situation, if you've come to believe that my codependency on you to come in constantly, right? It's not like just a one-time thing.
Yep.
If I'm empty on the inside, if I think that's love, if I think that's connection, then that's what I'm going to duplicate over and over and then be very disappointed in my relationships because no matter what they do or say, I still don't feel good on the inside. I'm still left empty.
Yep. Yep. And then you're always searching for the next thing. What's it going to be?
Yes. Yeah.
Where, and it's interesting. Unfortunately, if you present like I'm good, I'm good with myself. I know I'm a good person. Maybe you say took a long time to get there, but that you know your worth, you know your value. You're there, whether
Mhm.
it's professionally, whether it's not, whatever it might be. But we've got this thing ingrained in us that we're self-centered, egotistical,
Mhm.
and then many of us don't reach for that, where it's the most healthiest thing you can do, love yourself. We're afraid to do it because of judgment or even self-judgment based on society, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have people tell me that a lot. They get this almost horrified look on their face when I start talking about how important it is to love who you are, to be compassionate toward who you are, to be curious about the parts that are within you. And when they get that look, I'll say, now we're not going to arrogance because
Mm,
that's what they've come to believe loving yourself or being kind to yourself is now I'm some arrogant,
yes.
yeah.
It's a, listen, I ignored the love yourself thing for so long because even growing up as a kid, as a teenager, look at him over there. He loves himself. Okay, but back then it was presented as it's bad. Look at Mr. Perfect. He's like thinks he's everything. Well, good. I'm glad he does.
Well, interestingly enough, right? That braggadocious type of person, in my opinion, doesn't really love themselves. They're not full either because they are having to, you know, send out into the world
Yes. Look
how
at me.
fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Because when you
Mhm.
really love yourself and you're full, and that's a contented, ongoing space within, you don't have to brag. And you don't need someone coming in and telling you you're good enough.
Well, two things. There is that person that just walks around saying things because they want you to think that they're it. Then it's the other person that just has this air of confidence, and it's not an ego. We all have egos, but it's just a I'm good. I've got confidence. Things
Mhm.
are good in my life. I'm not, worried about things. And it could come off, it could be perceived as that person being quote unquote full of themselves. To your point, Sherry, I remember about 5 years ago, very close friend of mine, who's a therapist, by the way, and known her since I was 17. And there was a point where life was changing, and she's very familiar with my situation. And she says, those people, they don't belong in your life anymore. They don't serve you. And this was in the beginning of me figuring this stuff out. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. That sounds like, you're the king on the hill. Be gone with you. You do
Mhm.
not serve me. You do not serve me. You will be gone. But she was right. And I'm sure they felt the same way, that it was a different, relationship change of everything. And that's in your life for a season or a reason. I truly believe that.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's hard for people is that there's this realization as you get healthy and heal from within that you actually are attracted to something different.
Yeah.
And so, in a wounded state, when let's say codependent, if I'm codependent and I start making friendships, that kind of connection isn't going to work for me anymore because they may not have done their work. If you've both grown together, that's fantastic. But if they haven't done their work and keep wanting to pull you into a codependent style, that just doesn't feel healthy anymore because now you know what healthy feels like.
I would say that that's a $50 Sherry tip right there,
Yeah.
where you're attracted to something else. I'm not talking about people necessarily, but other things look good to you. Like I always in my past, I would need people around, need to, do things with others. You know what's attractive to me? Taking my dog for a walk into town, just me and my dog. The best thing ever. Love it. Yeah, go get a burger where you can eat outside if you have a pet. We just hang out. It's great. Love it. Yeah. If you talked to me 5 years ago, I could have done that. It didn't seem like, why am I doing that? I'm taking time for me and him. We're having a great time together. I enjoy it. I look forward to it like once a week, just like some quiet time. Um, you see things in a different way once you start doing that.
Mhm.
Huh.
Well,
I
go
didn't mean to
ahead.
cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you're looking at the how the shame-based stuff ties into the intolerance of uncertainty and the worry and the anxiety, that is adding stress onto something already stressful. When you when you think about if you haven't eaten, I may have said this on another podcast, but if you haven't eaten for a couple of weeks, I think hunger is going to make you pretty stressed, right? And
Sure.
that's all you're going to think about. But if you are already, you have these ongoing things of knowing your value and worth, then what I think happens is there's a richness that comes into life about small experiences.
Yes.
Like I'm eating a hamburger on the deck with my friend and the sunset's beautiful and I feel like I've just done a trip to Europe. That
Yes.
internal satisfaction.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you realize it. And I do remember the first time 4 years ago, embarrassingly, I ate a meal alone for the first time at a restaurant. I was here, 8 o'clock at night. Gotta get something to eat. There's an Applebee's. I'll go up there. A little awkward walking up to the bar. There's other people by themselves. Just it was like a little weird. But I got to tell you, Sherry, I will never forget the flavor of that simple burger and that one beer. It was magical. It was
Yeah.
like, wow, this tastes so good. And part of it, nothing wrong with doing stuff with other people at all. Do it all the time. Didn't have to give them 50% of my attention. I gave it to the moment.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk about a swing real fast because I know
sure.
we're getting to the end of our session, but
I
um,
love the way you say our sessions.
I don't know what you
uh,
call it in the podcasting
you're
world.
such a counselor. Okay, keep going.
So another reaction, we've got the people who think they can get control, right? And they're dressing up or buying these things or whatever to try and get validation externally.
Sure.
You've also got people who say it's never going to happen. In fact, I have tried my whole life and I've never been validated enough. And they shut down and they're procrastinating. They're distracting themselves. That's often where a lot of addictions will come in.
Mm,
They'll isolate. Like, I'm just going to make my world really, really small because that out there has never proven anything to me. And they'll deny that they're empty. Anyway, that sort of thing feels completely different, right? If I'm responding to the intolerance of uncertainty in terms of how am I ever going to feel good about myself, that alone time feels very different from you sitting and having a dinner by yourself all alone because you're already full.
yeah.
This person is just avoiding all of that.
Yeah. And the fear of the procrastination, they knew they have things to take care of, but they're not going to do it because what about if it's doesn't come, is not met with approval? There's a chance that I could be, maybe scrutinized. I'm not going there. I'm just gonna, I'll just put it off a little longer. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, yeah. It's how do you get to that point where you've got that balance?
Well, I think the first thing I kind of slipped it in there last time. You have to do some work. If you don't see this role of the intolerance of uncertainty, you're not going to be motivated to try and come out of it. And that's what I want to talk about next time is how to come out of that. So you start with, what is something I'm worrying about? Because we're more likely to notice worry.
Hmm.
Okay, these are the things I'm worrying about. What about that worry is an uncertainty I think I can't handle? You have to start making that connection. Then what have I thought or done? So in big pictures, like I've really gone out and tried to get people to reflect back that I'm good enough, or I'm more on that other side of I've shut down and I've avoided and done all those things. So what have I done? Do I think this whole system has this helped me to have the intolerance of uncertainty, worry, anxious, all the things that go with it? And if not, which is the goal, what problems has this caused me?
Mm.
And you want to start to know, no, this is not a way of life that I want to sustain.
We're thinking the same because as you said that, it was on my mind. Write it down. What are you uncertain about right at this moment? Top first thing comes that comes in your head. Second thing, maybe the third thing, or what are you worried about? I mean, I like the uncertain word. I don't know why that one. Worry's negative, very negative for me. Uncertain takes a little bit of the, I guess maybe the worry away from it. Because there's many things I'm uncertain about. But you know what? That's mostly everything. What's
Yeah,
certain?
well,
What's certain right now? What's happening in 10 seconds from this moment forward? Are you certain about that? I'm not. I don't
mhm.
know.
Well, and the spin we put on that word, and that's what we need to look at next time. If I think uncertainty is a bad thing and I have the intolerance of uncertainty, uncertainty is going to be a horrific thing in my life.
Right.
But we'll talk next time about how you start to think differently about uncertainty.
Love it. How do we think about connecting with you? If somebody, has some thoughts, want to, feel it out, see if it's the right kind of relationship, maybe to transform. How do they connect with you, Sherry?
It's itc.shari.edgell@gmail.com.
Free consultation if somebody wants to just even talk to you.
Um, I could explore that idea. There's some uncertainty.
Well, with that comes boundaries. You're not
Yes.
doing a free session for anybody. It's
Yeah.
answering questions and make the call, send the email, start at that point. Trust me, it's game changing in your life when you don't worry about. I used to worry about everything. I don't worry about it. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't. I care, but I don't. It's all
Because
good.
you're full inside, right? You've answered a lot of those questions you used to try to get externally answered. So,
And it doesn't mean that things don't come up. And for a moment, I'm like, what?
hmm
But it goes away in 10 minutes as opposed to 10 hours or 10 days. Once you put it in perspective. Thank you for today, Sherry. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
You too. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.